You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Black 33.
Live at the studio of Worldwide Sports Radio.
All right, let's go.
It's the Third and Long Show. And here's your hosts, Matty Caps and KT Hepburn.
And welcome everybody to a brand new show of Third and Long here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You got myself, Mr. Matty Capsule, and my co-host, producer, good friend, confidant, comrade. He goes by the name of Speedy Petey. I know him as Speedy Petey. You all know him as Speedy Petey. Speedy Petey is in the house as well. As you can see, Ms. Katie Hepburn is not feeling well. She has a sinus infection, so I told her to stay home and don't even bother coming in. I don't need to get sick. But she will be back very, very soon. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe. So she told me she's going to try and come in tomorrow, depending on how she's feeling, and hopefully the antibiotics kick everything out. But boy, oh boy, what a day we had today already, Speedy, huh? Early in the morning it started. And yeah, well, is the only thing I can say, because as a Giant fan like myself, I am not happy whatsoever. Okay? Speedy's a Giant fan. There's no way you could be happy as well. There's not a chance in hell you could be happy. No chance in hell you can be happy with what the New York Giants did. Carolina, New York, the coaching carousel is in full effect right now. And there's nothing nobody can say or do. It's in full effect. There's 5 teams that are out there that were looking for head coaches. Carolina just signed Matt Rule. New York Giants just got Joe Judge as their new head coach. Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. Ron Rivera went to Washington. Now there's one team left that is looking for a head coach. And they go by the name of the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are looking for a head coach, which is kind of shocking because I think 4 or 5 has been the least amount of coaching carousels we've seen in the past few years.
Well, they're also faster than usual, too.
Oh, okay.
Usually they're not this early in January. Usually there's some that are drawn out a little more, but it seems like every coach that was available, or every coaching vacancy that was available, at least for the time being, signed quickly with the exception of the Browns. Now, obviously, I think there's still time for other teams to fire coaches, too, though.
Oh, absolutely. There's always time for coaches to be fired and all that good stuff. I know we're going to be expecting a few calls today because there's one that called earlier. And I know Jeff from Tampa will definitely be calling in a little bit, so I'm intrigued to hear from this. Probably the Beeve might call in too. Who knows if the Beeve is going to call in. It's possible. It's possible. But Speedy, before I get into everything, and I'm going to start with the New York Giants right off the bat, okay? The New York Giants decided to go out and get a wide receiver coach, a special teams coordinator, a wide receivers coach to be the head coach of the New York Giants. 38 years old. Been working with Bill Belichick since 2012. Okay, so he's been there for 7 years. Okay? Before that, he was at Alabama, a special teams assistant, a linebacking coach at Birmingham Southern, and he was a grad assistant at Mississippi State in 2005. What on God's name are the New York Giants thinking, Speedy? I'm asking you because I'm curious to know how you feel. Because you're a Giants fan too, and when I texted you today, you just sent me that face that you couldn't believe it. So I'm curious on your opinion on what you think about Joe Judge.
Well, for one thing, way out there, I think is the easiest way to put it. The Giants are taking a major gamble with this, just based on him being very unknown. Now, again, I always say...
Unknown, he's a nobody. He's an absolute nobody. And I was talking to so many people, and I was seeing on social media that, John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator before he became a head coach. You're talking about one person.
But I'm not even against the special teams notion, and I forget who I was arguing with. It seems like everybody wants to hire an offensive coach. I don't think you should feel obligated to hire an offensive coach just because you have a young quarterback. So I'm actually not against that special teams notion. But what it is one, Bill Belichick's coaching tree has not worked.
They suck. Everybody in the Bill Belichick coaching tree sucks. And I'm going to get into that.
So you're
Take that. Everybody in Bill Belichick's coaching tree sucks. You look at Romeo Crennel. He stinks. Josh McDaniels wasn't very good, okay? Fired after his second season in the Josh McDaniels Denver Broncos when he was the head coach there, 11-17. Awesome. Nick Saban could be the only one you could say, and he's coaching in college. Nick Saban sucked in the NFL. He wasn't good in the NFL. I mean, he went 9-7 in his first season, but flopped in his second and final year, going 6-10. Eric Mangini, who the hell is Eric Mangini? Bill O'Brien? Bill O'Brien, it might be the only one.
Coach.
Yeah, might be the only one you could say who is an average coach. Matt Patricia doing nothing with Detroit to take them to the next level. Brian Flores, Mike Vrabel wasn't even under Bill Belichick. He just played for him. I hate people that use the Bill Belichick coaching tree. But it looks like we have our first caller of the day. This is Matty Caps. Who am I speaking with?
What's up? This is Nipton from Jackson, New Jersey. How you guys doing? Happy New Year.
Good. Happy New Year. How are you, pal?
Good. How you been? I'm the one of the frequent callers on your show, and then I think I gave you guys our podcast too.
Yes. How are you, pal?
Yeah, good. So as you guys know, I'm a big Cowboys fan. I just want to talk about the Mike McCarthy.
By all means, we could talk about Mike McCarthy. I'm very jealous of you right now.
Yeah. First of all, why would the Giants have? Before I get to my Cowboys, I just want to say the Giants are a joke of a franchise.
Agreed. Right now, they are.
Why? First of all, you had Matt Rule right there, and Matt Rule called the Giants to give him a second opportunity to match the offer. But
are you trying to take my job because you're taking everything I was going to say later in the show? You're taking my job. It's okay though. I love it.
No, but yeah. So Matt Rule gave him an opportunity to give him another chance, but they denied it. And they would rather go.
They didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, but they went for an unknown coach where you don't know. I mean, obviously, what's his name? John Harbaugh. He started off.
That's the only one. Name me another.
Yeah.
Name me
I
another.
don't think the special teams notion is that bad, though. It's just a matter of how far down he was in the Bill Belichick coaching tree, which is already bad to begin with.
If this guy was any good, he would have moved up from the special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
I hate when people are saying Bill Belichick is trying to groom this guy. If Bill Belichick was trying to groom this guy, he would have moved him from special teams.
Right, but he's also one of the better consistent special teams.
Oh,
in the
stop.
I'm not defending him. I'm just saying I wouldn't knock a special teams coach just for being special teams.
No,
the
but
Rams special teams coach has gotten head coaching interviews. The Chiefs,
and have they been hired?
No.
Okay, point taken.
But I'm just saying that I wouldn't just throw away that whole notion.
Go ahead,
I agree with
continue.
You, the hire was stupid, but it's not because of that.
Yep. If I were the Giants, I would have went for the guy from the Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy is my main man.
Yeah.
I wanted him over Matt Rule. I didn't even want Matt Rule as my head coach.
Yeah, so that guy, Eric Bieniemy, man, he deserves a head coaching job. He's done an unbelievable job with Patrick Mahomes.
He built the team around him. Look at that offense.
And he even did a better job this year with Patrick Mahomes hurt at times and the receivers hurt for much of the year, too.
Look at that offense is all you got to say. Look at that offense. It is absurdly good. Of course, Patrick Mahomes has a little bit to do with it, of course. But the innovation and the creativity that comes from that man is something that the New York Giants needed. I want Bieniemy more than anything, especially in the last few days.
Yeah, that they should have went there. But now to my Cowboys, I'm happy with the Mike McCarthy hire.
You have to.
That's the type of coach we needed. And now he's more of a hard-nosed guy, no-nonsense guy than Jason Garrett. I'm looking forward to. I can't wait for the.
What, the Ginger Clapper and Jason Garrett?
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are more no nonsense guys than Jason Garrett. You could make a mistake and Jason Garrett will still clap.
Yeah,
that's true. It's 100% true.
Yeah, but he will bring. He won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers.
With a garbage team that had 16 guys on the IR the year they won the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. So he brings a winning pedigree, and then I'm looking forward. Kudos, great job by Jerry Jones, not making the splashy hire. He wanted the guy with NFL experience, and well, I don't care what people say if it's a negative hire. I'm happy, man. As a Cowboy fan, I love this.
Let me tell you this. There is pros and cons to this. Of course, there's going to be pros and cons, and this guy Mike McCarthy wasn't the fan base favorite for the job. Everybody and their mother wanted Lincoln Riley in Dallas. Yeah. They all wanted Lincoln Riley. For what? I don't know, because if you watch Lincoln Riley in college, his Oklahoma teams could score points. They couldn't even stop me right now if I coached a high school team.
Oklahoma's been an offensive juggernaut for decades.
And they
now,
got embarrassed by
coach.
LSU in that college football playoff, and he couldn't do anything. So Lincoln Riley wasn't the pick. I would have picked Urban Meyer over Lincoln Riley. But Mike McCarthy brings a 618 win percentage. He's like 135-77. He's 10-8 in the playoffs. There's one thing that scares me a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why. Is the last 3 or 4 years in Green Bay, he didn't have any innovation, no creativity. You knew what was coming right at you. Everything was very stale the last 3 or 4 years in Green Bay. Now I get it. Aaron Rodgers was hurt a little bit. He missed some games every single season. Jordy Nelson was out, and I understand that. He never had a superstar running back like he has right now with Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas, okay? He never, ever had that. Yeah, Eddie Lacy ran for 1,000 yards in 2013 and 14, but that means nothing when you can't do anything else, okay? You look at Mike McCarthy and what he brings. In my opinion, I think Mike McCarthy is a quarterback genius. With what he's done with his QB school, that he brings all the quarterbacks in for 2 weeks in March, which he's going to be doing in Dallas. And listen, I hate the Dallas Cowboys as a Giant fan. I hate Dak Prescott more than anything, okay? More than anything, I think Dak Prescott sucks. But has Dak Prescott hit his ceiling? I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. And that's being completely honest. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. And I think right now, Mike McCarthy is the right guy for Dak Prescott to get to the next level. But he's already coaching a team. Would have been John Gruden would have been great for Dallas too, if he wasn't in Oakland. That's how I truly feel.
I think like you said, you hit it on the spot. I think Dak Prescott will exceed underneath Mike McCarthy, and Mike McCarthy will help him become a better quarterback for us. And now we have.
You got to hope and pray he does. You got to hope and pray.
Mike McCarthy, he's coming into I think we have a much better team than the Green Bay had before. So he's coming in with a lot more talent.
Are you kidding? Of course. 100%. Your talent right now on the Dallas Cowboys is far better than anything Mike McCarthy has ever had in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Far better.
I would say with the exception of maybe the 07, 08 teams, but that's it.
Whatever. What was that? Mike McCarthy's first year with Green Bay.
Right.
So, anyway, I'm going to stick to it. This is the most talented team Mike McCarthy has ever coached. Now, don't get me wrong. You guys still have to do some things. You still have to sign Dak Prescott or franchise him, number one. You're going to have to do the same thing with Amari Cooper. What are you gonna do with Byron Jones, that cornerback? You still have a few other guys that you're gonna have to move money around or do things. So I'm curious to see how this is all gonna pan out. But one thing that's good for you is that offensive line is still intact for at least another year if they stay healthy.
Yeah. So I feel like I think that we have actually our cash. We have a lot more cash space this year. We have $80 million in cash space. So
but that's what I'm saying. You got to think at least $40 million, $45 million is going to go to Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. And you still have to pay 5 or 6 other guys. So you got to figure out what they're going to do. I don't know because I don't follow the Cowboys extensively, probably like you do or whatever, being a Cowboy fan. But I follow them enough because they're in the division and they're rivals to the New York Giants that I follow them to see what they have to do money-wise. And they do have $80 million in cap space.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
But again, 40 to 45 of it is going to go to those two guys, even if they franchise them. So spreading out the money after that is going to be something interesting. And Mike McCarthy is going to have a say with that. I have to give Jerry Jones credit. I mean, it's still the Dallas Cowboys. No offense to you. It's still the Dallas Cowboys. As long as Jerry Jones is still going to do his post-game interviews like he's an important figure piece with the Dallas Cowboys instead of just being an owner, I don't see you guys winning a championship because of him. Not because of anybody else, because of him.
Yeah, but so I got one more question.
Sure.
What do you guys think of the the new defensive coordinator for us, Mike Nolan, coming in.
Mike Nolan coming in?
It's a weird fit because I feel
It's an interesting fit.
I mean, it's a weird fit just because I think when he was with the Niners, he was more of a 3-4 defense. Now, part of that had to do with his talent, the way it was structured. They had Patrick Willis there. They had outside rushing linebackers and safeties. Dante Whitner, I think, was there at that point. Like, they had all this talent that was more in the middle of the field. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he will go back to a 3-4 with Dallas. And if that's the case, I'd be a little worried just because
Dallas is based on a 4-3 defense.
They have the strength of Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch being base coverage
and
linebackers.
Sean Lee coming back.
Sean Lee, if he does come back. And then you only have one outside rusher in DeMarcus Lawrence that's really trustworthy. Yeah. Robert Quinn's kind of been up and down, and he's been really bad probably the last 2 years for the Rams when he was there. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you don't have to have just outside linebackers as rushers, but that usually has been the primary of a 3-4. So it'll definitely be interesting if they were to do that, if he would try to make any changes with personnel-wise, how he would rearrange that. If they stick to a 4-3, I mean, we'll see. He's a Saints linebackers coach right now. They've been one of the best run defenses in the NFL. He's grown a lot of free agent linebackers that didn't pan out with other teams there. So from that aspect, it's good. But again, the Cowboys already have good linebackers. Is that the biggest strength that you need? Maybe you need a D-line coach to help the run defense and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see.
It's more of the offensive creativity that is the problem with the Dallas Cowboys. They became so predictable this past year and the year before that they're going to have to do a lot more to go forward, because I think their defense is very good, and I've said that for the past 2 years. I think their defense is very good. Obviously, you guys could use another piece or two on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. I think in the secondary.
Secondary and interior defensive line, I think.
Yeah, especially safety. The guy from LSU is a possibility. What's it?
The corner or the safety?
From LSU, I forgot his name.
Grant Delpit or Christian Fulton? Which one?
Delpit, yeah, the secondary guy.
I don't think he'll fall that far.
He's going to be picked way before that, pal.
I mean, safeties have fallen in recent drafts, but I can't imagine Delpit
unless he goes and gets a DWI or something, or messes up and smokes pot right now and gets caught. He's not going to be there when the Dallas Cowboys pick.
Don't be surprised if Jerry Jones goes after Jamal Adams at some point.
It wouldn't shock me.
That's going to be very pricey.
But exactly, it's going to take a lot to pry him away from the New York Jets. But again, if he waits till his contract, or if the Jets don't trade him beforehand, if he's not going to sign a big contract, because the Jets are going to give him a contract when the time comes, when he's off his rookie deal. Okay, but it wouldn't shock me. It almost happened this year. But the one thing I could actually give the Dallas Cowboys credit for is that they didn't go into the demands. The New York Jets wanted the whole left side of your offensive line for Jamal Adams. They wanted Fredericks, who was playing left guard at the time before he moved to center, and Tyron Smith for Jamal Adams, and maybe like a 4th or 5th round pick too for Jamal Adams. That's what the Jets asked for. I don't blame the Jets asking for that at all, but I'm happy to see the Cowboys said absolutely not. We have one of the best offensive lines in football, because you do. You have a top 5 offensive line for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And it shocks me that you guys just can't win. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to say this again. I don't think Dak Prescott is your answer. But only time will tell to see if Mike McCarthy can take him to that level. We'll see. That's all I can say about that is we'll see. But as a Giant fan, I'm jealous of the Mike McCarthy hire. Very, very jealous of the Mike McCarthy hire. Because I wanted Mike McCarthy to go to the New York Jets last year, just because I love Sam Darnold more than anything. And I'm a Giant fan, okay? But now that he had an opportunity to come to the New York Giants and the New York Giants did absolutely nothing, 1, makes me sick to my stomach. 2, makes me want to go and murder everybody in that front office, especially David Gettleman, to let him go to the Dallas Cowboys. It makes me sick. It really, really does. It makes me sick to see that happen. I think Mike McCarthy is going to flourish in Dallas, and it scares me because if there's innovation and creativity with Mike McCarthy in Dallas, this Dallas Cowboys team is going to run that division for the next few years.
Yeah.
And that's 100% truth. And you want to know another thing I like of what Mike McCarthy did after taking his 1-year sabbatical right now? Is that he's finally going to the analytic system where everybody and their mother in every sports are doing analytics now. He wants a 14-team analytic team, a 14-person analytic team, which I have to give him credit because he's always been gung-ho of going against that. I give him a lot of credit for going to an analytic team. That's what he's bringing to Dallas. So innovation and creativity, if you get that in Dallas, you guys are going to win that division for the next couple years.
And we're going to win the Super Bowl, so let's see.
Oh, that's funny because I had someone who calls into my show a lot too, saying the Dallas Cowboys were going to win the Super Bowl for the next 3 years, including this one. 3 in a row.
Dak Prescott's going to win 3 straight
Dak
Super Bowls.
Prescott is going to win 3 straight Super Bowls. That's what I had to deal with on this show.
And then I actually, Tom Brady, I think there's a possibility that Cowboys could go after Tom Brady, right?
Okay.
Well,
I respect you and I like you, but with that comment, I have to ask, do you follow football?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you follow football. Did you really just say Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys might go after Tom Brady?
I mean, I think I'm hoping so.
Well, that would be pending if they sign Dak or not.
Why do you want a 42-year-old quarterback who has shown this year, and don't get me wrong, he turned 42 this year, okay, whatever. This is the first year I said to myself that Tom Brady is looking like Father Time is catching up to him. He doesn't look the same that he has. And don't get me wrong, the weapons in New England sucked. I get that, okay? But he didn't look the same. He was missing throws.
Outside of Cooper aren't much better.
No, Randall Cobb is pretty good. Jason Witten. Jason Witten was still very good tight end for them. And you had the second best running back behind Saquon Barkley in the league, and Ezekiel Elliott.
He's not really a pass catching back. How's that going to help?
Not
Brady?
Not yet.
Yeah.
But to even think that Tom Brady would even go to Dallas is beyond me. The only 2 places that I could see Tom Brady going would be the West Coast to the Chargers, and I don't even think that's going to happen. But I could also see him, if Tom Brady wants a real shot at winning a Super Bowl, he goes to Indianapolis Colts because that team is loaded. That Colts team is loaded.
I wouldn't go that far. Loaded.
Their offensive line is becoming
up.
one of the best offensive lines in football.
I'll give you that.
Their wide receiving core with T.Y. Hilton leading it is maybe not top 5 in the league, but top 10, top 12 in the league.
It's all right. I don't know if it's
and he is
great.
at 42 years old. He's an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett by a mile.
Okay.
Yeah.
That defense is still questionable.
But those defensive ends and interior defensive line is still good.
Outside of Justin Houston, really? I don't know what you're seeing, but okay. Darius Leonard's nice, okay. Malik Hooker, when healthy's nice. The corners
But that's what I'm getting at.
Nothing special. I don't think it's a bad team. I wouldn't say they're a loaded team.
I think they're a loaded team that could go out there and make surprises. If they had anybody better than Jacoby Brissett this year, they win that division.
No.
They win that division. The Houston Texans stink. They stink. I'm sorry, they do stink. If it wasn't for J.J. Watt coming in and saving the day in his playoff game, they lose.
Right, but
if J.J. Watt didn't play against the Bills,
I still
they lose.
think they make it anyway. I don't think the Texans are a loaded team either, but I think they're a better team than the Colts right now when everyone's healthy.
Man, let me ask you this, buddy. I have a question for you. As a Dallas Cowboy fan, okay, what kind of changes do you think that the Cowboys need to do to get to the next level? Besides, obviously, the coaching that they did, there's still other pieces that they need to get to the next level.
Yeah, so obviously defense is the number one key right now because our offense is pretty good with Kellen Moore. But I think Mike McCarthy is going to consider keeping Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator.
Which is fine. I like Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to want play call and control, too. Though.
Yeah, so on defense, we need like big pass rushers on the edge because we don't have – we had DeMarcus Lawrence and Robert Quinn, but
both speed rushers.
I think Michael Bennett. I think we should not resign him. Let him go in free agency and get someone else. I think Michael Brockers is a free agent. I like him as a player.
Yeah, that's an interesting fit. I like that too. If they keep the 4-3, that's a good fit.
Yeah, so I feel like Michael Brockers in that system will excel. And then another potential free agent. I have to look at I haven't gotten a chance to look on the secondary market in the free agency.
The safeties are not very good
There's no one out there that really tickles my fancy.
Outside of an older Devin McCourty and Carl Joseph, that's really it. For the safeties,
so that's
I didn't look at the corners yet.
That's why the Cowboys, we had a 17 pick this year. So the couple safeties on the board I would like from the guy from Alabama.
McKinney? Xavier McKinney? That high? I don't know.
Interesting.
I think he's more of a second-round pick.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. I don't think he'll be that high. I think Delpit's really the only safety that's going to go that high in the draft, but I think he'll go higher than 17. Corners, you might have a better shot. There's a little more depth with that.
But knowing Dallas, the way they look at players, I think in the last couple of years, Dallas has been reaching for safeties that will go to the second round. But knowing Dallas, I think whoever. I think obviously sometimes they go for the best available, but with the 17th pick, I think you can afford to reach a little bit for that player if they want them.
Not if you're in a win now mode like you are. You need someone that could come in right now at that 17th pick that could come in and produce, especially with the team you have. Because again, your offensive line isn't getting any younger. Tyrone Smith is the youngest guy in that offensive line, I think, and he's almost 30. I think he's 27 or 28 years old or something. So, I mean, you guys are in a win-now mode. There is no reaching for guys and hoping in 3 or 4 years that they could do something. You guys are right now in a win-now mode, especially that you got rid of that Ginger Clapper and Jason Garrett. You finally have a competent could go out there and be the difference. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm jealous. That's why I'm upset. Mike McCarthy could be the difference for the Dallas Cowboys in every which way.
The other thing, too, is looking at the prospects listings, there's better chances rather than just reaching at 17. Maybe you just trade back a little bit and maybe just accumulate extra draft picks because it's not really a top-heavy with the exception of Delpit safety group. And the corners are kind of after the Ohio State corner, Okudah or whatever his name is. It's kind
Okudah, he already declared a couple days ago.
I think he's like the top guy, and then it's a lot of good first-round guys.
Okudah's a top 10 pick, so you could count him out.
Right, I agree. I'm just saying that I think I like Fulton. I like the Stanford corner. I forget his name, and the Utah guy. But they're all kind of the same level where you could probably get them at 17 just as easily you get him at, say, 24 or something like that. You could trade back a little, get an extra third or something like that, fourth-round pick, and just accumulate some depth because the Cowboys have a above-average roster. I don't think they have an elite roster, but they have an above-average roster, and they still could use always depth on defense especially.
And don't be surprised if the Jerry Jones calls the Jets on draft day about Jamal Adams and potentially including that 17th.
That's going to be very pricey.
Listen, again, I love your loyalty to the Dallas Cowboys. I really, really do. But again, if you wanted Jamal Adams, you're going to have to give up more than God to get him.
And that's another
so
guy
get that out of your head at this moment, because that's never going to happen.
That's another guy too, because he's a young player entering a contract year pretty soon. That's another guy you're going to have to pay a lot of money.
No, he's still controlled for a little bit.
For 2 more years, but still, it's with other contracts upcoming of older players like the offensive linemen that could be backloaded, the linebackers that could be backloaded kind of thing, because Jalen Smith got paid this offseason. So I think that kind of thing down the road when Jamal Adams does have to be paid could hurt them from being the top offer.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see.
It's going to be an interesting. I think this NFL offseason is going to be intriguing than any other offseason because with all the coaching news and plus a lot of teams with the cap space, so it's going to be interesting what teams do this offseason, especially my Cowboys now with Mike McCarthy. I think Jerry Jones should just go all in with making moves like.
But that's what I'm saying. If you have the team right now to win now, you need to go all in and go get players that are going to produce and not wait for them to grow. You need the right guys right now. That's what I'm saying.
And are you guys willing to come on our podcast someday and on our podcast show?
I have no problem.
It depends on the time.
Yeah,
I'm always busy with this.
Speedy is always working here.
I'm always busy with this, so it just depends on the time.
But me, I would be able to. You just would have to message our Facebook.
Yeah.
Give a phone number and give a time you guys are on, and I'll definitely be able to call in.
Plus, I'll talk to my coworkers too. What they're looking, what time and what day my coworkers, because my coworkers are usually busy also. So. All
right. Well, again, just message on Facebook. We'll get the phone number and the times that you're on, and I'll definitely give you guys a call in.
And you guys are in New York, right?
Yes, sir. Long Island zone.
So we have a studio, and me and my friends we do the podcast. We have a studio in White Plains, New York.
Oh wow. Okay. That's right outside the city. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, can I come in the studio one day to do a show with you guys?
By all means, if you want to come in at 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, you are more than welcome to come in.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
You got it, pal. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Well, that was a nice call. That was a nice call. He said I don't remember him ever calling, though.
Yeah, he's called.
He's called?
He's called Errol's show more, I think, but I
Okay.
think he called your show, I want to say, at least twice.
Okay, fair enough. But good Dallas Cowboy guy. He has to like to hire. I mean, anything is better than Jason Garrett.
And Jerry Jones.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is at this standpoint. I know Jeff is going to be calling in any second, but just make sure you answer the phone when he does call before you put him on. But back to this Joe Judge thing. How do you hire a guy like Joe Judge? Well, answer it first before you put him straight on to make sure. How do you hire a guy like Joe Judge who has no experience whatsoever? It really, really, really aggravates me that the New York Giants went out for a guy like this. He has no experience whatsoever of being any type of coach besides special teams coach. Not an offensive coordinator, not a defensive coordinator. He's a wide receivers coach. Look what he's done in New England. Absolutely nothing. His wide receivers stink. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't run routes. Couldn't catch besides Julian Edelman. They stink. But we actually have our second caller, and I was right. Mr. Jeff from Tampa. Jeff, what's going on, pal?
Matty, I'm so worked up right now.
You're worked up. I'm
Good.
worked up.
We have all of these Dallas Cowboy fans living amongst us like they're one of us.
Did you hear that Tom Brady take he had? I had to ask him if he watched football.
Matt, I just need a minute here, Matt.
Okay, you got it. You got it.
We have these kids living amongst us like they're one of us, and they're not. Donald Trump wanted to build a wall blocking us away from a shithole country. I'm not for the wall, but if I were for the wall, we should put it around a shithole city like Dallas. Right? These people are ridiculous. Do you realize that kid just had them getting...
Jamal Adams and Tom Brady.
No, hold on. All with the 17th pick, by the way. He had them trading the 17th pick away to get Jamal Adams. Then he had them taking Grant Delpit with 17. And then he also had them taking McKinney from Alabama at 17. This kid has a podcast. What's his podcast? IamStupid.com.
I have no idea. Speedy, has he messaged us yet on Facebook? Has he said anything?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
He did three different things with that 17th pick. What does he have? What does he think he has? 3 picks at 17? This is what you deal with Dallas people. They're so unrealistic. This kid's trying to play Madden on easy mode. He's like, yeah, we're going to get Michael Brockers, and we're going to sign this guy. We're going to get Tom Brady. By the way, we're also going to re-sign Dak Prescott. We're also going to give money here, and we've got 3 number 17 picks, and Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. Dude, I thought the Bees was retarded. This kid is on another planet. What a world. He has 3 number 17 picks. That's unbelievable.
It's
what
crazy.
What a world these Dallas fans live in. What a freaking world. Do they know their team stinks? That's why they had to switch head coaches. Their team stinks. And now these people are the most unrealistic people on the planet, and then they want us to take them seriously? Get out of here. They think switching head coaches means because your team is doing well. I'm sorry, newsflash, you switched head coaches because your team wasn't doing well. Who are these people? These are the exact people why we say Dallas Cowboy fans are the dumbest people on the planet. You have Bees calling in, talking about, the Dallas Cowboys are going to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. This dude just drafted 3 people with the number 17 pick, right? Talking about he's got a podcast. Dude, on what planet is anyone listening to that 3 picks at 17 podcast?
I have no idea.
It's incredible.
The best though is when he said Tom Brady might be going there and Jamal Adams might be going there on draft day.
Right. So here it is. They have $80 million in cap space. It's going to cost $30 for Brady, $30 for Dak Prescott, and they're going to have to trade away most of their picks to get Jamal Adams, who will then get $20 million. Right? Oh shit! There's all your $80 million gone in salary cap space. What are they playing? 8 on 11?
It's funny.
But we got to wait because they're also getting Michael Brockers. This kid is playing Madden on easy level on a whole nother planet.
It's funny. But, Jeff, talk to me. Right now, talk to me about the New York Giants and Joe Judge. Please. Please, talk to me.
Listen,
talk me off the ledge.
All right, so here's the thing. He's worked under Belichick. That's a good thing. But some of those guys are doing good. They're solid people in the NFL. Romeo Crennel has done okay. Bill
Defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Bill O'Brien would be the only one I give credit to.
He also worked under Saban. Listen, you don't get to work under the top guys in the league because you don't know what you're doing, right? So there's got to be something to that. Everyone's mentioning him as the wide receivers coach, which he really kind of wasn't. He was the special teams coach. And if you want a better special teams unit, you showed me one this last year. The Patriots blocked like 5 or 6 punts this year.
Are we really gonna talk about special teams and being a head football coach?
I'm just saying he did a terrific job coaching up that unit. Okay, you can't deny that. Okay, so if he can just apply those same principles to the rest of the team, and listen, it's gonna be a work in progress. He needs to be smart and hire a good defensive coordinator and a good offensive coordinator. He's going to need support, but if he can make those good decisions, I don't see any reason why he couldn't succeed.
I mean, listen.
And we talked earlier, Matt. Did anyone in the world, because Mike Tomlin was not a candidate anyone talked about for the Pittsburgh Steelers job. And I don't know anyone that thought Mike Tomlin, when he got hired, that they said, oh, what a great hire. That dude came out of nowhere, and he's been a solid NFL coach. So you can't say it can't happen.
Well, in according to the Football Outsiders, the New England Patriots were ranked 11th in the NFL with their special teams unit. So there was still 10 teams ahead of them.
But that was also with a second and third kicker for much of the year too.
But again, these statistics go through everything, not just the kitchens, from punt returns, from everything.
If Stephen Gostkowski's kicking, that 11th is probably 8th at least.
Right.
Which is possible, but you look at the top teams. Somehow Cincinnati, but probably Cincinnati's number one. But they punted more than anybody, so I could understand that. Kansas City 2, New Orleans 3, the Jets are 4, Houston 5, Washington 6, Jacksonville 7, Detroit 8, Pittsburgh 9, and Baltimore 10.
Right, but Speedy's right on a lot of that because if you look at what happened in New England, Nick Folk, I think, was their 4th or 5th.
They had Forbath. They had who was the first guy?
Well, they had Gostkowski who got hurt.
It's not just about field goals; it's about the punts and everything as well too.
No, I'm not saying Gostkowski boosts him to first, but it probably boosts him from 11th to 8th.
No, I understand that, but you also have to understand that their kick returner in Gunnar Olszewski got hurt, and he only played half the season. The second half of the season was literally only fair catches for the Patriots.
I'm not looking for excuses. I'm just going by rankings right now. And right now they're ranked outside the top 10, their special teams unit. That's all.
Well, how about go on block punts? Who blocked the most punts this year?
Hold on one second.
I think that was the Titans, if I remember correctly.
No, it was Kansas City at 1, Houston at 2.
Well, how many they block?
7 or 8. 8 point something.
Well, that's a pretty high number. The Patriots had like 6, I think.
Yeah, Patriots are 4th. And it's 9. I apologize, 9.
For the Chiefs?
For the Chiefs, yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Right, so how many do the Patriots have?
5.
5. I mean, it's still a lot of punts to be blocked.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing that it's not 100%. But what I'm taking with this Joe Judge thing is that there was better candidates out there, and the Giants just didn't do anything. They had a chance to get Matt Rule. Matt Rule called the New York Giants and said, better this offer. I'll get on the plane right now. He was about to get on the plane, and they said no.
But here's the thing. What I've heard is that Matt Rule took the Panthers job because this whole thing had been in the works for quite some time, the Joe Judge.
Which, you know what? It could be very well possible. But, again, I heard up until yesterday, he called the New York Giants, said, I'll get on a plane right now for the interview. Match this offer. And the New York Giants said absolutely not. So that was that.
I mean, maybe they had their eye on this guy the whole time.
Maybe they did. I just don't like the move for the New York Giants. Like, I want a guy with some sort of head coaching or some sort of defensive or offensive coordinator experience.
Well, I mean, it's working out for you, all right?
What?
Well, that hasn't been working out for you.
Yeah,
right?
but again, when there's guys out there, Mike McCarthy was sitting right there. Ron Rivera was sitting right there. I would have took both of those guys over
you don't
him.
want Mike McCarthy.
I do. Listen, people could not like him. They could not do whatever, which is fine. People are valued to their opinions. I love Mike McCarthy.
Listen, here's the bottom line with Mike McCarthy. Do you know how I know he isn't a good coach? Because he got hired by the Cowboys. Name me one thing that's worked out for them in 20 years.
One thing, Speedy, come on, Rain Man. One thing that has worked out for the Dallas Cowboys in the last 20 years.
One thing that has worked out for the Cowboys? Well, they didn't have a lot of losing records. The problem is most of those losing records or non-losing records were also 8-8.
I mean, they had a lot of losing records. All they needed was to kick an extra point, and they would have beat the Seahawks. Guess what? Tony Romo dropped the football, and then blamed it on it being the new football. Right? In the last 20 years, nothing has worked out for the Cowboys. Nothing. So that tells me, because the Cowboys hired him, you got stamped. You're not a good coach.
Fair enough, Jeff. Fair enough. And
what
I
has
get
worked
it.
out for them in 20 years?
What's up?
What has worked out for them? The Dallas Cowboys are the Cleveland Browns with better PR.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay,
the Cowboys don't have a quarterback graveyard like the Browns do.
Fine. They're the Cincinnati Bengals with better PR.
Okay.
That's what it is. That star on their helmet is not a logo. It's a rating. 1 star.
It's crazy. These Dallas Cowboys. The guy that called in before, he was comical. But again,
I can't wait for this year's draft. He has them trading that pick and drafting 2 more players with it. This is going to be exciting at 17.
But again, this is all about the Giants and Joe Judge. And again, I when it comes to players, I don't judge quarterbacks after their first season. So I'm not judging any quarterback whatsoever after their first season. But to sit there and think that Joe Judge, give him time and whatnot, how much time do you want to give Joe Judge before he could do something?
Listen, you've just had 2 head coaches who have only lasted 2 years each. McAdoo 2 years, this dude 2 years. You've got to give this dude 3 years. He's got to have 3 years.
He's not going to.
You don't know that, but I think in order to have some continuity and to put some stability in that organization, you'd better give him 3 years.
If there is no improvement this year, he's going to be fired by halfway through the season, and Gettleman's going to be gone too.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to fire him halfway through his first season. I mean, the Gettleman thing is possible, but you don't sign a guy for 5 years and have to pay him for 5 years. You know, just because you want to get rid of him.
Yeah, but it's not like they paid him a lot of money for the 5 years or whatever the contract is for Joe Judge.
I would just say this, though, Matt, right? And it's not going to be a popular take because we're going to talk about probably the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. But when Bill Belichick took over the Browns, he was what, 6-10, 5-11? What was he?
He was. You got to ask Speedy. Speedy's good with those numbers.
When he took over the Browns,
What was his first season?
I want to say 7-9.
I think it was worse than that, but whatever. It's in that ballpark, right? 6-10, 7-9. It's right there. Whatever. The Browns didn't give him any time. He went to a different organization than the Patriots, and he didn't have a winning season the first season with the Patriots. He didn't. You got to have patience with some of these people.
Yeah, but nowadays there are no patience to be given. That's the whole thing.
Well,
and no, Cleveland in 1991 with Bill Belichick, they were 6-10, then 7-9, then 7-9.
If you look at the more successful organizations in football, and I'll use the Steelers as the example. The Steelers, they give their coaches time.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Right?
I agree.
The teams that have revolving doors,
they never win.
They never work out because you're always switching systems, or you're never being like. I'm not a Dak Prescott fan by any means, but do you think it's going to be fair to Dak Prescott or even Daniel Jones? If you want to talk Giants, do you think it's going to be Daniel Jones that'll have one system his rookie season, he'll have this system his sophomore season, and then you have him getting fired halfway through the season, and then he's going to have a new system then? How are any of these players supposed to succeed when you're doing that?
You could still be better internally as a quarterback. He could still get better footwork. His decision-making could still be better without coaching. That's all on the person.
Well, let me ask you, do you think is it all fair? And listen, I'm not going to even sit here and tell you that he's a good quarterback or great quarterback or whatever. I'm just talking about on a scale of fairness. Do you think what has happened to Josh Rosen has been fair to his football career?
Absolutely not, and it's taken a downfall, and it's spiraling even further down, 100%.
So why would you want to do that to Daniel Jones?
Because, well, it's not so much, and I think those comparisons is a little off peak because Daniel Jones actually started soon after 3 or 4 games. Josh Rosen didn't start right.
Josh Rosen started the third game.
He started the third game like Daniel Jones did.
Yeah.
So he played more awful than Daniel Jones, and in Josh Rosen's case,
had nothing to work with.
But exactly, that's my point. You can't develop a guy if they have zero to work with.
I talk about losing a coach too. He went from Bruce Arians when he was drafted,
who's a good coach,
who's a
very
very good coach, to Steve Wilkes, and now again they
Cliff
switched
Kingsbury.
No, you're wrong.
Again.
You're totally wrong. He never played under Bruce Arians.
No, he never played under him, but he was learning it, and then Arians decided to retire out of nowhere. I think in May or
Right,
whatever.
and then they had Steve Wilkes, so he was really like Steve Wilkes, and then they fired the coach and decided to go with Cliff Kingsbury.
And they fired the offensive coordinator in the middle of that season too.
Right, exactly, and then Josh Rosen has to go to Miami to learn something completely new again with a brand new coach.
Right.
Who knows how that works?
Yeah.
And he's in limbo now. It is a completely comparable idea to say that could be happening. Listen, if your prediction comes true that Joe Judge gets fired halfway through the season and this isn't working, it's a completely comparable situation to what happened to Josh Rosen. And you just said that was unfair to him.
Oh, it definitely is.
I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, no?
I mean, but this is what I'm saying. You have to give people time. There has to be some level of patience. You're switching coaches. Matt, I respect you. I like you a lot, buddy. You're a good buddy, right? The Giants stink.
I know. You don't got to tell me.
When you're head coaches, your team stinks. You got to have patience. If you believe these coaches, you're hiring these coaches because they can do the job, you got to give them time. You can't say 3 months in, well, you stink, you're fired.
You're not wrong, pal.
And listen, maybe they're making the wrong hire. Who knows if it's the right hire or the wrong hire? Maybe they are making the wrong hire. But I don't think anyone could reasonably say after 3 months whether it's right or wrong.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. Listen, you know me. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's coming into the Lions' den. And
I mean, let's be honest. At least he's going to the Giants, who are, a franchise with a pedigree, and the Maras are good owners. I mean, listen, it could be much worse. He could have ended up in Dallas or with the New York Jets. Those places are pits.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Look at how crappy the Cincinnati Bengals are, and at least they gave Marvin Lewis, what, they give 15 years?
6 years too much.
Regardless, at least they tried to see the thing through, and maybe they hung on a little too long. But I think that's a better way to be than firing someone after a couple of months.
You're right.
I think Arizona firing Steve Wilkes the way they fired him is a joke. Why hire the guy in the first place?
You're
If
right.
you're going to dump a dude after one season, why hire him in the first place?
Listen, that's a great question.
When people go into these interviews, owners and general managers and vice presidents and stuff, they're all sitting there and they're all sitting there saying things, asking what your plan is going forward and things like that. So they had to have known that was the plan going forward. They had to have known. So why fire him that quickly? He laid out the plan in front of you, and then you're moving on from that quickly? You got to give dudes time.
Listen, I like to give guys the benefit of the doubt. I like to give guys time, but the New York Giants organization in the past few years have shown that they don't give guys time and whatnot, so I can't see it being any different. That's my problem. I don't see it being any different right now with the New York Giants. And if they don't see improvement this season, there's two things they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for improvement from Daniel Jones, And they're going to be looking for, as a team aspect, improvements every which way. If the front office don't see that, don't be surprised if they look at Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields next year if they get a top 3 pick. Don't be surprised.
But will any of that be on Joe Judge?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't Dave Gettleman be forced?
Well, first of all, Dave, you know me, Jeff. I didn't want Dave Gettleman to get the job to begin with. Okay, number one. 2, once they just fired, Shermer, I wanted him fired. I can't believe he still has a New York Giant front office position. I can't believe it. I'm shocked that he still has this position for the New York Giants.
I'm going to stand by this, though, Matt. I think you're actually going to like Daniel Jones in the long run. I stand by it.
I hope so. I just don't see it happening. I hope so. And that's fine. You can stand by it. I pray to God I love Daniel Jones in the long run. I do.
I was the only one speaking his praises during that draft.
100%. 100%. You were the only one talking very good about Daniel Jones when he sucked at Duke.
He did not suck.
He was awful at Duke. You're right. Not sucked. Awful.
No. He was really very good. He didn't have a lot around him.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault. Why didn't he go to Alabama then if he was that good? Why didn't he go to LSU, Clemson? Oh, don't give me that crap, the smartness. Stop it.
No, because I'll give you the 2 reasons why he went there. A, because he's a smart kid to get a good education. Duke is, listen, you put your feelings for the Duke basketball program.
100%, but I'm going to ask you right now, when was the last time a Duke football player produced in the NFL?
I couldn't tell you, probably almost never, but I would say this. It hasn't been very long that David Cutcliffe has been there, and David Cutcliffe, say what you want, is a terrific football coach.
I think he's too good for Duke, if you want me to be honest with you. I think he belongs in that.
Dude, I am 100% on board with you.
I think he belongs in the SEC or in the Big 10 or Big 12. I think he belongs in that kind of conference with a high team. I think a team, not like Ole Miss where Lane Kiffin is, but I think like a Mississippi State, he could do very well. And one of those schools.
It's funny you even mentioned that, because did you know Joe Judge was the front runner to take over the Mississippi State program?
No, I did not know that.
I could send you 1,000 articles on that. Yeah, everyone at Mississippi State wanted Joe Judge, and he ended up getting the Giants job.
Well, keep in mind, he was a graduate assistant at Mississippi State when he graduated college in 2005.
See, I didn't know any of those connections, which is funny. I just heard everyone talking about him going to Mississippi State, and I was like, oh no,
he was a grad assistant there for 3 years, from 2005 to 7. He was a grad assistant there. And then he went to Birmingham Southern to be a linebackers coach. Then he went to Alabama to be a special teams assistant. And then from there on out, he was special teams coordinator, assistant, wide receivers coach, and that was it.
I mean, think about it. That's a pretty good kind of pedigree to have. And listen, I get it. Not a lot of NFL experience. I understand what your point is going to be on.
No. My whole point is, if he is that good, he should have moved on from being a special teams coordinator to become like a defensive coordinator, to become an offensive coordinator, to be something like that. But the fact is, he remained at the special teams coordinator position for his entire career.
Sometimes you're just a rising star, though, right? Look what happened with Mike Tomlin. What did Mike Tomlin do before he was the head coach?
A big linebacker coach.
I would take that over being a special teams coordinator for his entire career. He never moved up.
First of all,
and no, Mike Tomlin was the defensive coordinator at Minnesota. In 2006, Mike Tomlin was there. Yes, 100%.
I mean, but he was a linebacker coach.
No, he was a defensive back coach before that in Tampa Bay.
Okay,
and Cincinnati, he was a defensive backs coach. He was never a linebacker coach. He was a defensive coordinator in 2006.
Yeah, but he was a defensive coordinator also for a loaded defense. So
Right. But here's the other thing. At the NFL level, he was only a position coach. Joe Judge is a position coach.
At the NFL level, what is Minnesota Viking? He was the defensive coordinator.
With a loaded defense.
What is that? He still had to coach these guys. It don't matter. I could go coach a loaded defense. It doesn't mean they're going to come out and do what they have to do in the system. He still has to coach these guys to do what he wants them to do.
Right, but you're also aided by a lot of good talent.
Again, these guys still have to go out there and learn his system.
That's a solid point, then. He got a coordinator job, and that's fine. But for the most part, he kind of came out of nowhere. The only other guy that I can really think of, and I get it, it didn't work out, that was as fast of a rising star was Raheem Morris.
But he also already struggled as a head coach, so were you
Right,
going to
right. It didn't work as a head coach, but now he's a coordinator somewhere. I forget where he's a coordinator, but now he's a coordinator.
Atlanta.
And doing
Atlanta.
There you go. I mean, so some of these guys have that potential to skip that step. And for me, if you're going to work under two guys that would maybe allow you to skip that step, it's Nick Saban and Bill Belichick.
Well, that's the only reason why he has this job is because of Bill Belichick. Not so much Nick Saban, but Bill Belichick.
Well, and he also must have interviewed really well.
Which is possible. Yeah, which 100% it has to be, obviously, and whatnot. But it's 100%. If it was any other coach, he wouldn't be getting this job. He may have gotten an interview. He wouldn't have gotten this New York Giants job if it wasn't for Bill Belichick and working under him.
Right, but that's what happens a lot of places, right?
But now, Jeff, let me ask you. What guys under Bill Belichick's coaching tree has done well in the NFL?
Well, Bill O'Brien hasn't managed to get fired yet.
He's the only one that you could give some sort of credit to.
He's an average coach at best, though.
I would right. He's an average coach. I would say this because a lot of them haven't, but I would just say this, and I think that you would agree. Brian Flores' first year was a raging success.
Sure, but it's 1 year. Let's see what happens.
I get it, but they were awful at the beginning of the year, and they were playing.
Well, he got off to a rocky start, going 0-7.
Right, but they were also active
and finished with a 5-11 record.
That's not his fault. That's the front office.
But
that is his fault.
No, it's not.
No, Brian Flores wasn't tanking. He was not.
But they gutted that team to rid themselves of all of those bad contracts, and Brian Flores took a very marginal team at the beginning of the season and had them playing terrific football at the end.
Right, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they really improved.
I mean, to take a team that was that bad and transform them.
Okay, then let me fix my words. The coaching tree under Bill Belichick has never worked out.
Yeah, it's not all that great.
It's never worked out.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what Brian Daboll is because Brian Daboll seems to be getting a lot of interviews.
Yeah, I heard Cleveland linked to him plenty of times.
Jason Garrett's going to Cleveland.
No, that'll be Josh McDaniels.
Oh, God.
Good. Take Jason Garrett with you. Keep him away from the Giants.
Listen, you can say, oh, God, and laugh all you want, but he's from Cleveland. He grew up there, and I think that it would mean something to him to go back to his hometown and take over that franchise.
It's possible.
Then why wouldn't he have done it last year, then?
Not the right time. They didn't. Or they also, when they interviewed him, they didn't have Odell Beckham.
You're right. But Jeff, are you going to stay on? We're going to talk a little bit about Tua Tagovailoa when we come back. Are you going to stay on? We got to take a quick break.
You know I want it on that.
Okay, stay on then.
No more Cowboys fans. Just listen. # New Year, no beef.
All right, Jeff, hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break here. And when we do come back from break, we talked about the coaching carousel and all the good stuff with the New York Giants and Carolina and Matt Rule. I really didn't get into Matt Rule. I'm going to get into Matt Rule tomorrow a lot more when Katie is here. But when we do come back, we are going to get into the Tua Tagovailoa declaring for the NFL draft. We're going to get into that when we come back here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You are listening to the Third and Long Show. And here's your hosts, Matty Capps and KT Hepburn.
1-631-300-4477 is the number to reach us here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We still have Jeff from Tampa on the line here. Jeff, you still there?
New Year, no beef.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step away from the NFL, and we're going to go into the college. And I know the college football playoff is this Monday, and Monday's show with Speedy and I, and hopefully Katie, will be a very good show because we're going to break that down, the college football national championship, which is that Monday night anyway. So Speedy and I will have a very good show for that. But let's talk about the NFL draft a little bit and people declaring Tua Tagovailoa. This guy has been riddled with a little too bad injuries this season, injury last season, and he declared for the NFL draft. And, Jeff, I'm going to ask you, do you think Tua Tagovailoa declaring for the NFL draft was the right move?
100% the right move. 100%. It couldn't have gone any other way.
Why?
Well, you don't go back to college to go into that logjam. So Alabama signed one of the top two quarterbacks, depending on if you like him or Ayugalele better, right, in Bryce Young. So you'd have Mac Jones to his little brother Taiola Tagovailoa, which is no need for that many A's in anyone's name. And then you're going to have this Bryce Young kid coming in. You can't be there. You have to move on. People that go to Alabama know that that's what the deal is. You can't be the guy that's there for 4 years. You got to leave early. That's the first thing. Second thing, you have those injuries. You have to cash in while you can, while you're remotely relevant. You can't take the chance to go back to school and get hurt again. If this kid is going to drop 10, 15 spots, that's losing a lot of money. He gets hurt again, he's going to drop 2 to 3 rounds.
Fair.
That's an enormous amount of money.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of money losing. And, Jeff, we talked about this earlier. I'm telling you right now, if everything comes back from those doctors and everything, and I know you hate doctors, and you could explain to everyone why you hate doctors, and I totally understand. But if everything comes back clean from those doctors and they have all good things to say about that, he's going number 4 to Miami. 5 to Miami, sorry.
And that may be the case. They may draft him at 5 because they don't want to lose out. Miami has had their eye on him all along, and I can totally understand why you would say that. If I'm in Miami, I'm not hitching my wagon to him.
At all, or not at 5?
Oh, definitely not at 5. But here's the other thing: if 2 is not going to be your dude at 5, you're taking Justin Herbert at 5.
Justin Herbert at 5. You like Justin Herbert over?
Well, but here's the thing. I get that they have 3 first-round draft picks. I fully understand that. But there are so many teams that could potentially be drafting quarterbacks. You can't say, I don't like Tua at 5 and take, say, just for the sake of argument, Jeff Okuda. You got to.
I love Jeff Okuda from Ohio State. Love him.
Right, but I'm just plugging someone in there.
Okay.
You could Andrew Thomas. I don't care. Plug any other player in there. If you're not taking Tua at 5 and you're not taking Herbert at 5, both of those guys are going to be gone by the time you take that next pick.
Now, my question is who would trade up, though, in that spot? Because if the Chargers were going to take it, it'd probably be with its pick, because they only have
look at all the teams that are going to need quarterbacks.
Carolina, maybe, at 6. But if they're going to do it, they're going to do it with their own pick. I don't think they would do it with
what about
a second-round
Tampa?
pick.
Tampa's
an interesting wild card. We'll have to see what happens. What I actually think Tampa's going to end up doing is they're going to do a defensive player in the first round just because they need so much on defense. And I think a Bruce Arians type guy is going to be Jacob Eason. I think he's going to want to develop him. He loves big arm quarterbacks.
I also think an interesting scenario that could happen, and I get it if you jettison a guy that's going to close a spot somewhere else. But I also think an interesting possibility is, what if Detroit wanted to rid themselves of their salary and wanted to get rid of Matthew Stafford so they could take a quarterback?
Right, but they would do it with their own pick.
Right, at 3.
Okay, so they take Justin Herbert at 3, then let's say the Chargers, we'll use them. The Chargers take Herbert.
If there's no quarterback, right? If there's no quarterback taken besides Joe Burrow above number 5, right? That means the Giants don't take one, the Lions don't take one, and the Redskins don't take one, who all right now seem to be all set at quarterback.
Okay.
Right? And you don't trust to his medicals, or you don't trust that he isn't. Listen, he's injury prone. He's had the 2 seasons he started. He's gotten injuries both years.
Right.
And now he's going to a league that's bigger, stronger, and faster. And I get it. You like him. I like him. I think he's a decent player, right? But you also have to have some concern that he isn't durable enough to play in a tougher league than where he's at.
And that's why I don't know if Carolina or the Chargers would be able to be the team that does that either, because they also have offensive line problems.
Right, but I wouldn't take them at 5, but you can't risk losing out on all the quarterbacks if you pass on them at 5 and you pass on Herbert at 5. By the time the picks come around to 18, you might not have anyone left to pick.
If Detroit does do what you're saying, maybe, but I think both the Panthers
Not
and
even
the
them,
Chargers.
could take a quarterback.
Right. I think one of the Chargers or Panthers are probably sign a free agent too. Plus, again,
I mean, maybe the Buccaneers are a possibility to take a quarterback.
right. But I also think that their pick is, I think, 16 though, so the Dolphins could easily jump right in front of them. I don't think that's going to be that hard.
But you don't know what anyone else is doing. You can't say, "Oh, they're definitely taking a quarterback, so I'm going to trade in just to snag them." No one knows what other teams are doing. Who's to say Tampa Bay isn't to trade up into the top 10?
No, it's possible. I'm just saying. I think in terms of
Right,
the
but-
Dolphins needing so much that with the extra
Right.
picks, they kind of have
But
to
if-
be creative with it in terms of what they have to do.
But this is why I'm saying if you're going to pass on Tua at 5 and you're taking quarterback, you have to take Herbert there and just give up on Tua.
Well, if Herbert's there, sure. I'm not saying that they don't take Herbert, but I think their plan has always been to take Tua. I don't think that's going to change with Miami. If they want to take Herbert, take Herbert. I'm not saying
But
wait
I
on
don't-
Herbert at 5. All right.
Right.
They've
But
been
I'm-
in love with Tua Tagovailoa for the past 2 years.
Right. I'm not saying take
There is,
Herbert at 8.
if the doctor's stuff comes back, the physical and everything comes back clean, because before he does all that, he's going to have to take a physical and everything. If everything comes back good and they hear from the doctors that everything is good, he's going number 5, and I'll bet my house on it.
I would pass on him because I don't think he's durable enough for the next level.
Which, you know what, Jeff?
Injuries
You
every-
could 100% be
injuries
right.
every season. Injuries every season. And that's at the college level when he has superior blockers ahead of him than compared to other teams. And he's still getting hurt a lot.
But can you say those are freak accidents? The hip injury is a freak accident. That's a freak accident. Everybody and their mother, from analysts to doctors, said that was a freak accident.
But it
the
happened.
ankle surgery, he had someone roll up on him. Anybody would have had an ankle injury if they had a defensive or offensive line. Whoever rolled up on his ankle did that to him. So to sit there and say that he is glass, because obviously right now that's his MO, is that he's injury prone. But you look at his
You would agree
injuries,
that
what
that's
he
his MO,
has.
though. But you would agree, though, that that is his MO so far.
Right now, yes, because of that. But if you look deeper into it, if you look deeper into it, he's not injury prone, because anybody that rolls up on your ankle, that would happen to anybody. And the hip injury is a freak accident. And I'm not the one to say that. I heard it from analysts. I read it in the news from the doctors. They all said it was a freak accident.
Did you ever notice these kinds of freak accidents always happen to fragile people? Is anyone sitting here saying that Tyler Eifert is the greatest tight end ever? But, oh, man.
Can you let me know, besides these 2 bad injuries, what serious injury did Tua Tagovailoa have? And if you say his ankle injury, his sophomore year, I'm going to laugh at you, because, again, someone rolled up on his ankle. And anybody would have had that type of injury.
I got you, but I understand what you're saying, but it's also 2 years, 2 injuries. He's injured every year so far now.
I understand that, but again, if you look deeper into it,
the only year let's look deeper into it. The only year he wasn't hurt in his college career was the year that he only played one half of football because he sat for 12 games.
And listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is look deeper into his injuries. Because those injuries, those ankle injuries, which are the only ones he really had besides this hip one at Alabama, would have happened to any other quarterback as well.
I mean, you can say that, but fragile people seem to get these kinds of injuries.
Wait, fragile people get ankle injuries?
Or freak accident with the hip, he's fragile now.
That hip injury, that doesn't mean he's fragile. That just means that it was a freak accident. Like, it never happens. Ever.
Right. So every year he's been a starter, he's been hurt.
Okay, fair.
And he's still a terrific, and he's still terrific. I get that, but I'm not taking the chance at 5 on a dude that is fragile, who's always getting hurt, who's on a superior team to everybody else. And now I'm going to say, now I'm going to move you into a league where everyone's bigger, stronger, and faster, and now you're magically going to be fine. I don't think that that's a logical thing to conclude.
I firmly believe that once he gets to the NFL, he's going to be a pocket passer, and their coaches are going to drill it to him to not run or do anything that could get you injured if you're a franchise guy. I firmly believe that.
I mean, it's entirely possible, but again, you're also taking away half of what makes Tua Tagovailoa good. His ability to escape, his ability
to throw the ball on the run. And that brings it to my next point. And Jeff, I brought this up to you before, and Speedy, I want you to take this too. Do you guys think that it's possible that he could be the next Drew Brees?
No.
No.
No. I think they're two different types of quarterbacks.
This is a retarded question. Now, you and I talked at length earlier today off the air before the show even started. I am so disgusted and so sick of all of these people. It doesn't have to be Drew Brees or Tom Brady. I don't care if you're trying to compare someone to Ben Roethlisberger. I am so sick of people taking college kids and comparing them to Pro Bowl caliber starting quarterbacks, perennial Pro Bowl guys for a decade in the NFL. I think it's so ridiculous that you would take a kid who has an injury history, who you have no idea how good of a pro he's going to be, and say he's going to be the touchdown pass leader of all time in the NFL. That is retarded.
And listen, Jeff, you and I agree. I hate the comparisons. I hate them, but they're done. Like, they do them. And he is being compared to Drew Brees on certain aspects of his game. And that's the whole thing. Now I'm going to be honest with you. Does Tua Tagovailoa have the biggest arm? No. Drew Brees doesn't have the biggest arm either.
Right, but Tua Tagovailoa also has deep accuracy, though, good, too.
Hold on. Well, hold on. You just took the words right out of my mouth. However, Mr. Tua Tagovailoa is exceptionally accurate on short to intermediate throws, which is why Alabama got so many touchdowns on slant passes. Okay?
Oh my God.
What do you mean?
Help too,
of course the receivers help. I'm not going to say that, but you still have to be accurate on your passes because you still have to make the throws. And yes, they have to make the catches, but you have to make the accurate throws for these receivers to make them. And that is something that Drew Brees has been shredding NFL defenses in the past couple decades, really, with that. Okay? Obviously, the health issue is a big point, and I understand that. He has his injury history now because of it. But right now, if you are going to compare, I just gave you two big reasons why he could be compared to Drew Brees. And Jeff, you know I hate comparisons. All I said was I'm giving you two big time comparisons on why he could be compared.
I'm not investing $20 million into a dude that freaking has an injury history. That scares me. I'm sorry.
And I understand that. And tell everyone listening now, why don't you trust doctors? Tell Speedy.
I mean, did doctors not tell you that Drew Brees was never going to throw again?
Yeah, they said that.
I mean, they're wrong all the time. All the time they're wrong. Did doctors say Ryan Shazier would never walk again? Mm-hmm. That dude's doing box jumping.
He's going to try and play in the NFL again.
That's not going to happen. Let's be honest here. Let's just be fair. Let's just be happy he's walking, right? But they say, he's never going to walk. He's walking. Listen, they're wrong all the time. It is what it is. So I don't care if they say, he's healed, he could be back to 100%. Well, what's the chance that he could get re-injured? Once you injure something, there's a higher percentage that you can re-aggravate that injury.
Agreed.
So I don't care if it heals 100%. If once you break something and glue it back together, it's not stronger than it was originally.
Agreed. But sometimes like you hear people coming back from Tommy John surgery, they're stronger than ever. ACL surgery, they're stronger than ever. So I mean, it's tough to put stuff into perspective like that.
Right, but this is what I'm saying. Doctors can be. Listen. They're a good guideline to have. They're not 100%. There are people that beat odds. There are people that can go above and beyond. There are people that can't overdo the things that doctors once told them they could do. They told Kajana Carter he was going to be able to play in the NFL again. Did that happen?
No.
Right. So, I mean, it's just a guideline. It's not it's not the Bible on anything. You know, it's not 100%. So, I mean, okay, here's a guideline, but you still got to put in the work and that kind of thing. And for me, I don't care if they say that Tua can heal. He's had 2 injuries. And first of all, he's on a superior team. His teams are better than everyone else's teams he's playing.
But he's also been he's been the best quarterback Alabama has ever had.
He's in that group. I mean, he's in that group. I find it hard to say that he's better or worse than anybody because, you know, they fly through coordinators and have so many different systems. And I get it. The NFL career didn't pan out. But as a college player, it's hard to say that A.J. McCarron or Greg McElroy weren't a couple of... You know me.
I'm not a big numbers guy. I'm more of a eye test kind of guy. And I've been following college football. I've been watching A.J. McCarron, Blake Sims when he was the quarterback there as well. Like, I've been watching these guys play. And just from the eye test alone, you're able to see that Tua Tagovailoa has something that those quarterbacks never had.
But just in fairness, and I'm agreeing with you on some level, but just in fairness, when McCarron is there and those guys are there and they have Derrick Henry running, and Derrick Henry was just, I mean, listen, putting NFL players in his back pocket. What do you think he was doing against college players? So when you have those kinds of talented people at running back, you don't need to throw the football. They played a different style. So what Tua is being asked to do isn't what Greg McElroy or A.J. McCarron is asked to do. Listen, you want to talk about the difference between what quarterbacks are asked to do, all you got to do is go back to Tua Tagovailoa's freshman year. Look at what Jalen Hurts was asked to do in that national championship game compared to what Tua was asked to do. Jalen Hurts was barely throwing the football in that game because it was all run plays and draws, and those were the plays that were called. And when Tua came in the game, they said, let's air it out. That's what they were asking him to do. And maybe it's because of his skill set and they believed in his arm and that kind of stuff. But it's hard to argue against McCarron's winning record and Greg McElroy's winning record and things like that. They did what they were asked to do very well.
You're right. And Tua Tagovailoa was asked to do more than they've ever had to do.
They also haven't had the running back stable.
Derrick Henry wasn't a running back for them?
He wasn't there with Tua?
No, I'm not saying for Tua. I'm saying for the other quarterbacks.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Richardson? Trent Richardson?
Richardson, Ingram, and Henry, when you have 3 Heisman guys, they were running the ball more. They didn't have that caliber of running back with Tua, so they were throwing the ball more. The caliber of player that was a standout when they were there are the Ruggs, the Judys, the Devontae Smiths, who's returning to school, the Jalen Waddles. They didn't have the prolific running backs. Brian Robinson and Najee Harris aren't Ingram, Henry, those guys, right? So their offense shifted to more of a passing attack.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong in that. It's just interesting to see like how this will all pan out.
I get Julio Jones was there, and Julio Jones was a freak, but that's one guy. When you looked at this year's Alabama team, name me a team deeper at receiver.
You can't. No, there isn't.
Alabama.
There wasn't. LSU is the only team that could give them a run for their money. LSU.
Exactly, but and they're really too deep.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Jamar Chase and what's his name? Jefferson. I was going to say Stevenson.
Right.
Jefferson.
Right, and they have some decent guys after that. The Terrence Marshalls, the Thaddeus Mosses, and that's
the tight end.
Thaddeus Moss is a tight end.
Yeah, he's a tight end.
Well, it's all the same because they split him out sometimes too. He's kind of like that Jimmy Graham kind of type where, like, yeah, he's a tight end, but they use him as receiver all the time.
Yeah, no, it happens. But Speedy...
But they have Racey McMath and some of those other guys.
Oh, absolutely.
When you compare those teams side by side, even if you want to say that Ruggs and Waddle are completely even with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, it's not even close. Waddle and Devontae Smith are clearly head and shoulders above Racey McMath and Terrence Marshall.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And Alabama's not going to take a step back next year. If anything, they're going to be right in the same spot they are this year. They're going to be fighting for a top 4 spot.
We had this conversation before, man. Who do you think wins that quarterback job? That's a ridiculous competition.
The quarterback job with Bryce Jones now, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. I honestly, I want to see Bryce Young because reading about him, looking at videos of him, and being a 5-star kid and being the number 1 ranked quarterback in high school and going to Alabama, I want to see him play. But I honestly think Mac Jones is going to transfer. Okay, and
I don't think that's the transfer.
I like Mac Jones, but I think Tagovailoa's brother is going to start.
I see. I'm going the other way because if you remember, Tua almost transferred.
Tua 100% because of Jalen Hurts, 100%.
Right. So I would be betting. This is just me. This is just how I see it playing out. I'm betting Mac Jones will be the starter.
Okay.
Tagovailoa will transfer, and Bryce will wait until his sophomore year to play.
I mean, I think Bryce is going to wait till his sophomore year to play anyway. It wouldn't shock me to see him redshirt, to be honest with you, his first year and see nobody transfer right off the bat. But we'll see. But, Speedy, you've been quite quiet on this Tua Tagovailoa take. Do you have anything to say about Tua and what you think about him going into the NFL draft? Where do you think he'll end up? And all that stuff. You've been very quiet.
I think he'll end up with the Dolphins still regardless.
So you think he's going to go 5?
I think he probably will go 5. Like I said, I don't know. It depends on whatever draft strategy stuff can happen, whether he should go 5 or not. But I still think Miami just loved him from day one, and I don't think the injury is really going to derail that. Now, again, if it wasn't the right decision, we don't know, just because they need so much. So I think that's going to be very hard. And I'm kind of with Jeff where the two injuries are still something that can accumulate. Whether they're freak accidents or not, I don't think really matters as much. It's still based on the body type, and it still can cause other things to be re-aggravated with other injuries. So it definitely is concerning. And I think wherever he goes, unless he does go to Detroit for some strange reason, he's not going to have a good offensive line in front of him. Carolina's had some trouble this year. The Chargers.
But here's my question to you now. Obviously, coming back with the big injury that he had, do you think that he jumps right into the Lions' den? I honestly think they'll redshirt him.
Who, Miami?
Whoever takes Tua Tagovailoa, I don't think Tua plays his first year.
Well, yeah, it depends on which team he goes to and what the situation is. Because, like I said, I think the Panthers could sign a free agent, or they could hang on to one of their young quarterbacks. The Chargers, I think, definitely could start Tyrod Taylor for a year and redshirt him. I think that would definitely be a possibility if they take him. But, again, I don't know. If Miami takes him, would they hang on to Josh Rosen? Would they hang on to Ryan Fitzpatrick? What would they do? Because I feel like, again, Josh Rosen, like Jeff was saying earlier, you can't really judge the way he wants to play. I don't think he really likes Miami. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he could move around to another team with the snap of a finger. So we don't know what's going to happen with them, too. I think the Chargers, definitely that would be a possibility. But otherwise, I'm not sure, and we have to see how the quarterbacks move.
It's definitely going to be intriguing to see with this whole Tua Tagovailoa and how it all pans out for him going forward. I'm intrigued to see what the doctors have to say. I'm intrigued to see how his medical goes when the time comes. But Tua Tagovailoa is NFL bound. Jeff, any last words before we let you go?
Yeah, can we stop with these Cowboys fans? Honestly, how do these people... Speedy, what is your screening process for this whole thing? When you pick up the phone, Speedy, you have to ask whether they're Cowboys fans or not.
Is that the new qualifying thing?
Listen, you gotta weed out these rodents, right? You can't have these vermin mucking up this whole process here, right? That kid literally traded the 17th pick for a safety and drafted 2 safeties as well.
And getting Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, both of them.
Oh, don't forget Brockers. Brockers is on his way too.
Yep.
Right? I mean, who isn't that? He's getting Grant Delpit, he's getting McKinney, he's getting Jamal Adams. These Cowboys fans are so unrealistic. How do you allow this? How do you guys just sit here and go, oh, these Cowboys fans, they're reasonable. Let's let them wait for all of our time.
Well, they give us opinions to mock, like Barry Sanders or Ezekiel Elliott could run on Barry Sanders' offensive line and have the same numbers.
If you guys want to have a successful network, swear to God, just let Mike Guido host an all-Cowboys hour twice a week, right? And let these lunatics call Guido with their ridiculous takes.
No, I give Mike Guido a lot of credit because he's more of a realist than any Cowboy fan I've ever spoke to.
On some levels. But he called for Dak Prescott's job. Then Dak Prescott played well against some bum team and was issuing apologies that he was wrong about this and that. And Dak Prescott's so great. And then Dak Prescott still ended up sucking, and that is what it is, right? Like, he's pretty unreasonable when it comes to the Cowboys, too. He had the Steelers winning the Super Bowl this year.
Well, if Ben Roethlisberger didn't get hurt, they very well could have been in the Super Bowl.
I mean, would it have mattered? The Patriots put them in their back pocket 33-3 to start the year.
And again,
the Patriots
I agree with you.
The Patriots
yeah, but the Patriots didn't stink in the beginning of the season. Listen, any team that has Devlin Hodges as their starting quarterback, which he's
Roethlisberger played that game.
Yes, but anybody that has Devlin Hodges as their starting quarterback in week 9 or week 10 on, okay?
But this is what I'm saying. If you want a ratings bonanza, you let Guido host an hour with Mike from Bayshore, that moron, and you let all of these vermin call in, all of these Dallas people call in, all of these just stray Cowboys fans everywhere, and just, dude, the hilarity will ensue and take care of itself. This kid drafted 3 players at 17.
You're right, Jeff.
How many draft picks does he think Does he think having the 17th draft pick means you have 17 draft picks?
All right, Jeff, we got to let you go now.
Speedy, weed out these Cowboys fans.
Speedy, that's it. For now on, every person that calls in, we have to find out if they're Cowboy fans or not.
Or use the hang up button more judiciously. Just Tom Brady as well. Click. It's absurd. These people. What planet are they coming from? Terrible. I hate them all. They're just. This is why they're the worst people on the planet. This is why no one takes them seriously. This is why they're the worst fan base.
All right, wait, time out. Who do you hate more? Speedy, Cowboy fans as a whole, or Errol?
Oh, God. In order?
In order.
Do you want ascending or descending?
I want you to start from number 1, 2, 3.
All right, and 1 being who I hate the
most. Yep.
Oh, easily Cowboys fans.
Cowboys fans are ones, huh?
They are the
I was going to say Errol. I would
have won this honor in 2017.
Yeah, Speedy would have won it when he first came on.
I mean, Cowboys fans, they are just the lowest form of life on the planet. They are.
I got you.
Cockroach ranks above Cowboys fans.
And then who's number 2, Errol or Speedy?
Oh, it's Errol. Speedy's not a bad dude. Speedy's a good dude. Speedy's all right. I mean, he's still just insufferable with how long he takes to make a pick, like he's writing a novel on who he's picking on his football pick, which is so annoying. No one cares, Speedy. Make the pick.
All right.
But Errol is king of the idiots. Errol is the CEO of stupid.
On that note, Jeff, we got to let you go.
All right. # New Year, no bees.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jeff from Tampa. He had a good take on the Tua Tagovailoa and definitely a good take on the Joe Judge hire for the New York Giants. It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our show here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. And the first thing we're going to get into tomorrow is the Matt Rule, as I didn't really get into the Carolina and Matt Rule and all that stuff that took over. Katie Hepburn should be here tomorrow, and hopefully we could get some of her takes on everything and the coaching carousel that has been going on around the NFL. But that's it for our show here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player.